Hey, what's going on? I wanted to make this video as a way to clarify on some things about what the new killer does, on basically everything about the new chapter in Dead by Daylight. They added a new chapter that's currently in PTB, and there's a brand new killer, and it's a pretty complicated killer. The power has a lot to it, and there's also a lot of perks that people I think are a bit confused about, and I want to just kind of go over everything and explain how it all works in this video, just in case you are like a little bit misunderstood on how something works. Hopefully it gets clarified somewhere in this video. So let's not waste any time and let's just get started. This killer has very standard stats as far as like her general stuff. She's a 4.6 killer, which is like the standard speed for most killers like Trapper and Wraith. Her terror radius is 32 meters, which is also the same for most killers in the game. And she's also a tall classified killer. So this is the same as most killers in the game, like Billy, Trapper, Wraith, Clown. Most killers are all three of those things, and she's no different. Now, the twin's power is the ability to release the smaller of the twin, Victor, at any point in time. When you release Victor, you leave Charlotte's body behind and she becomes dormant and she's not usable. She drops her terror radius and she kind of just becomes like a shell of a human that just kind of sits there AFK and waits for you to be done playing as Victor. While controlling Victor, you go very fast, your POV is very low to the ground, your speed is very quick. I don't know the exact numbers, but it seems to be about like 6 meters per second. It might be more or less, I'm not sure. And you also have the ability to lunge. You can charge your M2 and it takes about a second or two to charge up, and then you can hit M1 to lunge forward. You do have to fill the bar up completely. You can't do like a half lunge. The bar has to go up the whole way. You can look up to make your dash go a little bit further. You can't look down a lot, but there is a difference between looking straight and then looking your camera up a little bit. You'll go a little bit further if you look up. Really important to keep in mind, though, they added a system where if you pounce somewhere that is like out of the map, basically somewhere where a survivor can't get to you, then it automatically kills you. So if you try to like pounce on top of like a car or on top of a pallet loop or even on top of a pallet itself, it won't let you stay there and it'll just insta-kill you if you go there. On top of this, he has no terror radius either. When you're controlling Victor, he has no terror radius, but he does make little gremlin sounds, basically. There's really no other way to describe it. He makes little gremlin sounds that the survivors can hear. So they can detect him through sound, but he doesn't actually have his own terror radius. So when you land this dash attack on a survivor, if the survivor is full health, it latches Victor onto that survivor, and then it kicks you back to Charlotte, so you lose control of him, and he just basically becomes latched onto that survivor. While he's actually attached to a survivor, they are affected with Broken, which is the status effect where you can't be healed, Oblivious, which is the status effect where they don't hear the terror radius of the killer, and also a new status effect called Incapacitated, which is very strange. I'm not really sure what all... They didn't really go into detail about what all this entitles, but I can just go over really quickly what you can and can't do. You cannot do generators, and you cannot heal yourself or your teammates. You can do most other actions, though. You can unhook survivors, you can open exit gates, and you can jump into hatch. You also can't leave the match, this is another weird addition. You're not supposed to be able to leave through an exit gate while Victor's on your head, but this isn't very effectively done because you can kind of just hug the wall as tight as you can, and then when the killer downs you, you kind of fall out without Victor. So you're not supposed to be able to leave with Victor on your head, but you basically still can anyway. When Victor is attached to the survivor, they can rip Victor off and basically get rid of him by holding M1 for 8 seconds. And you can do this while running too. It fills up a bar. You can charge this bar even while sprinting. However, when the bar fills up, you do stand still and do an animation that takes a second or two. So it's kind of risky to do it if you're in the middle of a chase, but that is how you get Victor off of you if he's latched on. Now, if the survivor that you pounce at with Victor is already injured, though, if they're not full health and they're already injured, then Victor will just down that survivor, and then you just maintain control of Victor. So you just have total control, and then you can continue to use them, and you can chase more survivors and wreak more havoc. This makes it incredibly useful to have survivors being injured, which is something that you can keep in mind when you're playing this killer. This dash also can go through windows, and it can also go over pallets. So that's another thing to keep in mind. If a survivor is behind a pallet or behind a window, you can still leap through it and get the hit on the other side, although it is very difficult and the hitboxes can sometimes be a little finicky, but it is possible. After using any pounce that doesn't latch onto a survivor, whether it's you missing a survivor or whether it's you downing an injured survivor, As long as you're not latching on, Victor becomes vulnerable for 3 seconds and survivors can destroy him. So any survivor nearby where he lands, you can walk up to him, hold M1. It takes about a half a second to charge, and then you basically kick him. You basically punt Victor, and then he dies. When Victor gets destroyed in this way, it takes 6 seconds, and then the official wording for the power is regrows. He regrows in Charlotte. So apparently it's like a new Victor. I'm not really sure, but he regrows into you 6 seconds after he gets destroyed. At any point that you're controlling Victor, you can switch back to Charlotte, and it kind of does the opposite, whereas instead of Charlotte being idle, it leaves Victor idle and dormant somewhere on the map, and then you switch back to Charlotte. Charlotte, when you do this, has a 3-second kind of like animation that she goes through where you can't really control her right away. She has like a very, very slow movement speed, and she kind of gradually gets her speed back, and it takes about 3 seconds. While Victor is either idle and dormant on the map, or if he's even attached to a survivor, you can see any survivors around him, except for the one he's attached to. Basically, any survivor either near his dormant body or near the person he's attached to. The range seems to be about 12 to 16 meters, so I'm going to say probably like a 16-meter range. If a survivor comes within 12 to 16 meters, you see a killer instinct heartbeat of where they are, so it kind of helps you with tracking. However, this can actually be circumvented from the survivors by crouch walking. For instance, if you're trying to do some kind of a cheese strategy or something where you're using Victor to defend a totem, you can crouch walk into range and you'll never get the killer instinct as a killer, and you can kind of hide yourself. However, while you have Victor dormant, he is vulnerable the entire time. So just like after a pounce for that 3 seconds, whenever you can be kicked the entire time that you're dormant. So if you leave Victor out in the open, somewhere very obvious where it's really easy to see him, survivors will most likely come along and give him a quick boot. There's also a timer on this as well. When you leave Victor idle somewhere on the map, there's a 90-second timer where if you don't switch back to him and move him at least a little bit, for 90 seconds, he'll eventually despawn himself and then come back to you as if he was destroyed. So if you are putting him somewhere tactical and you want him to stay there the whole game, make sure you keep an eye on this meter on the bottom left of the screen. This will show you when it's about to run out, and if this starts to get low, you just switch over to him and then switch back. All you got to do is just switch over and switch back, and then it'll instantly fill the bar back up to full. So you don't really have to like do anything other than just hit control twice. There also seems to be some anti-camping measures in place, although they appear to be a bit buggy on this PTB, and it seems like sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But it seems like there is a thing in place where if you're within a certain distance of a hooked survivor, this again feels like somewhere between 12 and 16 meters. I'm not really sure the exact number, but basically if there's a hooked survivor nearby, you can't swap back and forth between your two characters unless you get a certain distance away. I think this is to prevent people from like parking Charlotte right in front of a hooked survivor, taking control of Victor and running around, and then the second the unhook happens, coming back and downing them. Like some weird situation like that. I think they're trying to prevent stuff like that. So you can't switch characters unless you're a decent bit of distance away from the hooked survivor. That's pretty much all there is to the power. Just to clarify, I know I've been getting a lot of questions on stream. Like I streamed it last night, and I got a lot of questions about like, do certain perks work with lunges and stuff? Okay, Victor's power, like when you lunge at somebody with Victor, it is a killer's special attack, and it's not a basic attack. So any perk that works with a basic attack will not work with Victor's lunge. Like things that cause exposed will not work. Things like knockout will not work. Things like save the best for last, it won't affect tokens. It's not a basic attack, so anything that normally only works with basic attacks will not work with Victor. I think that about covers the power. I hope I didn't forget anything, because I kind of want to talk about the perks as well. So the twins have 3 teachable perks, and obviously just like every other killer, they can be taught to other killers when you reach a certain level. So the first of our perks being Hoarder. This is a perk that makes it so that there's 2 additional chests in the environment, and you receive a loud noise notification when a survivor interacts with the chest within 48 meters of your location, or if they pick up an item within 48 meters. Also, the rarity of items found on all chests is decreased. So this perk is basically just like a big, massive slap in the face to anyone that wants to loot chests, I guess. I don't really think this is a very good perk, but I mean, it is what it is. If you hate people that loot, then I guess put this perk on. I don't know why that would be a thing, but feel free to. The next perk is Oppression. This is an interesting perk. This makes it so that whenever you damage a generator, up to 3 other random generators also begin regressing. This is really odd. Also, if any of the generators that are affected are in the middle of being repaired, they get a difficult skill check, kind of like a decisive strike skill check. This is kind of interesting because we tested this and it actually didn't work with Surge whenever I tried it, which I'm not sure if that was just a bug. It sounds like it should work with Surge, but it didn't work with Surge. So I think this means, I don't think this is, maybe the wording is wrong and maybe instead of damage a generator, it should be kick a generator. But from what I've seen, it seems to only work with kicks. You guys can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the comments, but it didn't work with Surge for me. So yeah, it is what it is. It's kind of a cool perk. It makes it so, I mean, it kind of makes it so you can apply pressure all around the map, even when you're just kicking one gen. I don't know. I like it. Very overall great perk. And the last one is Coup De Grace. Is that how you say that? I'm pretty sure that's how you say that, right? I'm probably gonna get made fun of for not saying this correctly. But anyway, it's Coup, and basically each time a generator is completed, you get a token, and for each token that you have, the next time that you lunge, it'll consume a token, and your lunge will go literally twice as far. It's pretty wild. It's pretty fun. It's pretty strong too. It's just you only get 5 uses per game, so it's. I don't know how good this perk is overall, but it's definitely pretty fun to use at the very least. There's also 3 new perks for Survivor as well, obviously. We have Appraisal as the first perk. This is kind of like the loot perk to counteract the anti-loot perk that the killer has. It makes it so that you unlock chests 80% faster. I don't believe this is supposed to stack with Pharmacy, by the way. I think you're only supposed to be able to get the benefit from one or the other. Just gonna note that. I think I saw it in the patch notes that it's bugged that they are stacking right now, but I don't think they're supposed to. But anyway, you basically have 3 tokens, and after a chest has already been looted, you can continue to loot that chest again, but it consumes a token. So you could basically loot one chest 4 times. It's pretty freaking neat. Her next perk is Deception. This perk makes it so that when you try to interact with a locker while sprinting, you won't actually jump in the locker, but instead you'll trigger a loud noise notification for the killer, and you'll leave no scratch marks for 3 seconds. So this basically like fakes jumping in a locker. If you're running past a locker, it makes the sound of the locker. It like flickers the door, and it makes the sound of the locker being jumped into, but you don't actually jump in, and then you leave scratch marks so you can try to lose the killer and bait him into checking the locker and getting lost. It's kind of a neat perk. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work once it hits live. And the last one is Power Struggle. This one's really interesting. While being carried by the killer, if you get to 25% of your wiggle progress, and then the killer goes through a pallet, like a standing up pallet, you could actually a little spacebar prompt will pop up, and you could hit spacebar and throw the pallet yourself while on the shoulder to pallet save yourself, which is pretty crazy. You could also combo this with perks like Flip Flop and Unbreakable, and then just sit under pallets while downed and kind of pallet save yourself when they pick up, which is also wild. It's a pretty interesting perk, and I'm pretty excited to see if this will get any use as well. And that pretty much sums up the chapter. I hope this answered any questions you guys might have had or cleared up anything. I know this is a really complicated. There's a lot to this, especially like the killer power. There's so much to it. There's so many like little interactions that are like hard to explain, and I might have even missed a thing or two here and there, so I hope I didn't, but hopefully this clears up pretty much everything you want to know about the new chapter. If you guys like this video, feel free to leave it a like. It helps me get it out there to more people. Sub to the channel as well, because I'm uploading literally daily, and also stop by my Twitch stream sometime. I'm live every night except for Saturday from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern. It would be awesome if you came by and said hello. I love hanging out and talking to people while I play, and thank you guys so much for hanging out. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your night. I'm getting out of here. See ya. Take care. See ya. I'm out of here. See ya. See you later. See ya. Oh yeah, also you can blind the freaking baby. Anyway, sorry. See you later. See ya. I'm out of here. See ya.